Good evening. Welcome to California Today. We're happy to have you join us again. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. While many criminals were released from California prison and on early parole, thousands of pedophiles were among them, serving only less than 1 year in prison. San Francisco's police force has a new addition to the department: robots that can use explosives and deadly force. The city recently approved the robots to be used in certain emergency situations. And California is no stranger to theft, including package theft. A recent study found that multiple large cities in the Golden State ranked in the top 10 for most porch pirate strikes. Many prison reformation calls for reducing the inmate population by letting, quote, nonviolent offenders out early. Recently, an investigation found that thousands of convicted sex offenders were released in less than a year after convicted in California. Here are the details. Sex offenders in California are getting less than a year in prison time. According to the Daily Mail, over 7,000 sex offenders were released the same year they were convicted of crimes described as lewd or lascivious acts with a child under 14 years of age. The data was extracted from California Department of Justice's Megan's Law database, which provides information on registered sex offenders. In an interview with Tucker Carlson tonight, reporter Josh Boswell noted that among, quote, nonviolent offenders are pedophiles convicted of serious offenses with high risk of reoffending.
And these are people who are spending just a few months in prison for these really awful, heinous crimes.
Proposition 57, which California voters passed in 2016, allows early parole and good behavior opportunities for nonviolent felons. One sex offender from Santa Cruz County was convicted in 2013 and reportedly started a new job in 2014. Compiled from California data on 55,000 sex offenders listed on July 2019, nearly 42,000 crimes were committed involving children. The average pedophile served 2 years and 10 months in prison. Based on November data, California's Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation currently houses a little over 96,000 individuals, nearly 3,600 less than last year, and almost 40,000 individuals are currently on parole. The debate over police robots being able to use deadly force in San Francisco has been decided. It was no easy choice in a city that's generally believed to lean left on political issues. NTD's Sean Marshall has the details.
Supervisors in San Francisco voted Tuesday to give city police the ability to use potentially lethal remote-controlled robots in emergency situations, following an emotionally charged debate.
Fears about a dystopian, robotic, remote killing future. I understand the concern and fear that can evoke in our society as all things technological and robotic seep into various aspects of our society and culture.
The vote was 8-3, with the majority agreeing to grant police the option despite strong objections from civil liberty and other police oversight groups.
I understand that the police have had this technology for 11 years and haven't used this, but we have now unearthed this as a subject in a way that I think has actually been counterproductive in reality.
Supervisors amended the proposal Tuesday to specify that officers could use robots only after using alternative force or de-escalation tactics, or concluding they would not be able to subdue the subject through those alternative means. If a decision like this spreads to other areas, it could be a financial help to the tech industry, which has been plagued by inflation and mass layoffs. Research firm Strategy R forecast the global security and law enforcement robots market to reach $3.7 billion by 2026. 37% of the market's growth will originate from North America during the forecast period, according to Technavio. Robots and the robotics industry is here, but at what cost? Should people be more concerned about the distribution of power to robots? A number of robotic engineers have signed pledges not to make robots that use deadly force on humans, something brought up at the meeting before the vote. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
It seems the ongoing strikes against the University of California may be coming to an end soon. University officials say a deal has been made for some of the strikers, but others are still negotiating an agreement.
On Tuesday, officials from the University of California reached a tentative agreement with some of the strikers, which includes postdoctoral scholars and academic researchers. The strike began on November 14th of this year. Around 48,000 academic workers started what is said to be the largest strike in U.S. history across all UC campuses. This resulted in instructors and professors having to do without teaching assistants to grade assignments and end-of-semester exams in some classes. A UC Office of the President spokesperson told the Epoch Times the United Auto Workers, the union representing the strikers, have been in negotiations with UC leaders for months over pay. The demands of the 12,000 postdoctoral scholars and academic researchers have been met, but they have not returned to work out of solidarity with the 36,000 student workers still on strike. The student workers are seeking a deal over compensation. The tentative agreement for postdoctoral scholars include up to 23% salary increase by October 2023, up to $2,500 in annual childcare reimbursement, a new paid leave program with 100% pay up to 8 weeks. As for the tentative agreement for academic researchers, this would include a pay raise of 4.5% the first year, 3.5% second, third, fourth year, 4% fifth year. On November 14th, the UC Provost Michael Brown noted that waiving non-resident tuition for out-of-state and international students could cost UC several hundred millions of dollars per year. He said this will make it unfair for resident students if non-residential students receive compensation packages for the same workload. Once the contract is ratified, it will take effect through September 30th, 2027.
Google and YouTube are partnering with a global network of fact-checkers. The tech giants say they're providing over $13 million to the network. The investment includes $12 million to the International Fact-Checking Network. It encompasses 135 fact-checking organizations from 65 countries in over 80 languages. Among them are PolitiFact, Reuters, Snopes, and the Washington Post fact-checker. Google and YouTube said this is by far their single largest grant for fact-checking. The company said the investment will, quote, elevate information, uplift credible sources, and reduce the harm of mis- and disinformation around the globe. The fact-checking network is housed by Poynter Institute, which receives funding from the Open Society Foundations, founded and chaired by George Soros. According to a report, cities with some of the worst package thefts are in California. As people have their goods delivered this shopping season, one security expert shares how one can avoid being a victim of porch pirates.
Safewise, a home security website, has been doing package theft reports for 5 years. This year, it ranked the San Francisco Bay Area as the worst in the U.S. for porch pirate strikes.
Package theft has been continually on the rise. And obviously we saw a big bump during the lockdowns with COVID and the pandemic first started, because the only way we could get things was to have them delivered to our porches.
In the report, Seattle-Tacoma, Washington ranks second where porch pirates strike most, followed by Austin, Texas, Hartford, and New Haven, Connecticut. Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, and Los Angeles also rank in the top 10. Cities in California where package theft is the worst are San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles, and Fresno. As people do their online shopping this holiday season, Edwards shares a few tips for people to be more proactive in protecting their goods.
I like to do a combination of things that are free and easy for everybody to use, like changing the way that you receive your packages, such as signing up for delivery alerts. So I like to see your package is 2 stops away, and then I know that I need to keep an eye on the front door if I'm home, or I need to figure out how to receive that package. I also think that if you have the option to require a signature at delivery, that is a really smart move, because they have to put the package in your hands and not just drop it on your porch.
Another recommendation is using technology. Safewise partnered with Vivint to record and deter thieves.
They've added some flashing and strobing lights, as well as a whistle sound that shockingly stops people in their tracks. And you can also do pre-recorded messages, whether you're home or not, that can tell people to, hey you, or what's going on, get out of here. And what we see in footage, clips that are caught live at people's homes, is that they kind of freeze. It's like deer in the headlights when these lights and these sounds are coming at them, and we see package thieves running off without taking the package. And that's the ultimate goal.
While SafeWise can't pinpoint crime trends, they point out that in general, property crime has been on the rise in the Bay Area. Last year, Senator Brian Jones introduced Senate Bill 358, which would increase the punishment for porch pirates to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine. It also proposes to make repeat package theft crimes a felony.
Now we're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. The state's agricultural industry took a huge hit this year. Part of the reason is the constant drought, causing it to lose over $1 billion. People leaving the metropolitan areas have settled in more rural areas. Because of that, there's now a new area code in Northern California. A new pop-up bar brings back nostalgia. It's Blockbuster themed with drinks and games set up like those in the 80s and 90s. That and more on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Lamb. California's agricultural industry lost over $1 billion this year. According to a new study, the persistent drought may be one of the leading causes.
California's agricultural industry lost $1.2 billion in 2022. Together with food processing industries that rely on farm products, California suffered a total loss of $2 billion. This is up $255 million compared to last year. Nearly 200,000 jobs were also cut as a result. According to the report by the University of California, Merced and Public Policy Institute of California, this loss is largely due to the persistent drought. UC Merced professor John Abatzoglu, who co-authored the report, said, California is no stranger to drought, but this current drought has hit really hard in some of the typically water-rich parts of the state that are essential for the broader state water supply. The last 3 years have been the driest period since 1895. Statewide temperatures were 3 degrees higher than 20th century averages, while precipitation dropped roughly 1/3. State officials responded by restricting water rights, which greatly slowed down agricultural productivity. Statewide irrigated crops dropped by 752,000 acres in 2022, with more than half being in the Sacramento region. Farmers in the Sacramento area only planted 270,000 acres of rice this year, about half of what they would historically. Besides rice, the report also found a reduction in almond, alfalfa, grain, and pasture crops this year. The Central Valley, with its higher proportion of irrigated farmland, felt the biggest economic impact, which was only made worse by a disrupted supply chain. Researchers say, moving forward, the state needs to invest more in its rural and agriculture-dependent communities.
A federal judge has dismissed a lawsuit filed by a California building management company. The lawsuit alleges that the company lost several $1 million in rental income due to Los Angeles' eviction moratorium. GHP Management Corporation filed a $100 million lawsuit claiming losses caused by Los Angeles' eviction moratorium. According to court papers, GHP Management alleges in the lawsuit that 12 of its buildings lost over $20 million in rental income due to the ordinance. GHP, which manages several large apartment complexes, including Da Vinci, Ferrante, the Medici, and the Orsini, is owned by developer Jeffrey Palmer. Other companies owned by Palmer joined the lawsuit. U.S. District Judge Dean Pregerson dismissed the suit last week. He found that the eviction ordinance covers only a limited period of time and did not reflect a permanent seizure of property, which would have required the city to compensate landlords. Los Angeles County's current eviction moratorium will be in effect until December 31st. Once the moratorium ends, tenants will have a year to pay past due rent. The ordinance bars landlords from charging interest or late fees. The dismissal ruling allows the plaintiffs the opportunity to amend the lawsuit and refile it within 21 days. Northern California is getting a new area code. That comes after lockdowns led to a large number of people leaving high-density areas.
The California Public Utilities Commission, CPUC, announced that due to the growing need in the current 209 area, they're adding a new number. That new number is 350. The price of a call, coverage area, or other rates and services will not change due to the overlay. Just like the last new area code distributed in 2018, the new code 350 was put into place to serve population shifts from high housing price areas such as San Francisco and San Jose to less expensive areas like Modesto, Stockton, and Merced. The new 350 numbers became effective on Monday.
Police in Southern California made a comical observation after catching someone going nearly 3 times the speed limit. In Santa Barbara County, CHP officers in Buellton caught a speeding Lamborghini last week. The vehicle was driving 152 miles per hour in a 55 speed zone. In a Facebook post, the officers wrote, "154 is the state route, not the speed limit." Officers continue to conduct zero-tolerance enforcement to keep the roads safe. Blockbuster's video rental stores are basically a relic of the past. But for those feeling nostalgic, a new Blockbuster experience popped up in Los Angeles. But this one has quite a twist. Instead of renting videos, guests can order drinks and play retro games.
In Los Angeles, you can hop back in time to the 80s and 90s with the new Blockbuster pop-up experience.
We wanted to not just create like a themed Blockbuster where you went and you're like, okay, it looks like it, but like an experience where you're gonna drink, you can go out and have fun, but you're still experiencing what you did at Blockbuster. It's essentially renting movies and things of that nature. So we came up with this really fun concept, and the idea is just to transport people back to a better time, a more fun time. And if you're gonna go out and have a fun theme night like this.
The speakeasy allows guests to come in, get their Blockbuster membership card, and peruse the VHS boxes on the shelves. But instead of a videotape, the VHS boxes represent different drinks, from cocktails to beer and wine.
We encourage guests to come check out our cocktails, beer, wine, frozen, and combos. The really fun part and immersive part truly here is that every drink has a name and has a makeup on it. So let's just say I want the Pineapple Express. Great, love the Pineapple Express. I'm gonna make my way right over to this counter, and I'm gonna hand this off to a bartender. You're gonna hand this bartender this drink right here, like I do to Sherry.
Be kind, rewind.
And that is how you order a drink at the Blockbuster pop-up.
The immersive experience, complete with blue and yellow decor throughout, allows guests to relax on beanbags and even play retro video games.
We just want guests to be completely immersed in all the nostalgic factors, whether it's table games like this or 80s and 90s films that are playing on this big screen right here. Or while guests are out here, we encourage them, because we have a full menu, to check it out on this DVD case right here, which we call Nosh and Sweets. There's things from the past like grown-up Lunchables, Blockbuster Burger, Y2K mini pizzas, and all the things that'll take them back to the 80s and 90s.
During its tenure on Melrose Avenue until February 2023, guests will also be able to watch iconic 80s and 90s films while drinking and dining in the garden.
Now to Entity's Thomas Christian for your sports roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup. Christian Pulisic was hailed by his teammates on Tuesday after his first half strike sent the United States through to the World Cup knockout rounds, with the effort landing him in the hospital with an abdominal injury. After the match, Pulisic said via social media that he will be available for the U.S. men's national team's next game in the round of 16, saying, quote, "I'll be ready." Coach Greg Berhalter confirmed Pulisic was injured and sent to the hospital as a precaution after feeling dizzy, and said the players had a short video call with him from the dressing room. The United States joined Group B rival England in advancing to the round of 16, fielding what was the national team's youngest ever starting 11 in a must-win match against a physically tough Iran side. There was no official news of Pulisic's availability for Saturday's match with Group A winners Netherlands, but U.S. midfielder Weston McKennie also said that Pulisic had told him he would be ready. The U.S. will take on the Netherlands in their first match of the elimination round on Saturday. The LA Dodgers bolstered their pitching staff Tuesday by signing right-hander Shelby Miller to a major league deal. Miller most recently played for the San Francisco Giants, where he appeared in 4 games for the Orange and Black in 2022. He spent most of last season playing AAA ball, but has bounced around the major leagues for the past 10 years, spending time in St. Louis, Atlanta, Arizona, Texas, Pittsburgh, and Chicago as well. It is unclear as of right now what Miller's exact role in the Dodgers bullpen will be. He set a low bar for himself between 2018 and 2022, posting an 8.92 ERA and a 1.95 WHIP in that time. Luka Doncic won a scoring duel over Stephen Curry, and the Dallas Mavericks snapped a 4-game losing streak with a 116-113 victory over the visiting Golden State Warriors on Tuesday night in a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals. Doncic finished with a game-high 41 points as part of a triple-double that included game highs of 12 rebounds and 12 assists. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 22 points for the Mavericks, including a three-pointer that gave Dallas the lead for good with 1 minute and 49 seconds remaining after Curry had hit a go-ahead tray of his own 20 seconds earlier. Golden State's Klay Thompson missed on a three-point attempt at the buzzer. Curry scored 32 points for the Warriors, whose 3-game winning streak ended. Mavericks 116, Warriors 113. Norman Powell came off the bench and scored 22 of his season-high 32 points in the fourth quarter to help injury-ravaged Los Angeles rally past Portland. Reggie Jackson scored 24 points and 12 assists, and Robert Covington scored 15 as the Clippers won for the 5th time in their past 7 games. Ivica Zubac contributed 12 points and 13 rebounds, and Terrence Mann had 11 points for Los Angeles, which trailed by as much as 18 points in the third quarter. Anthony Simons matched his career high of 9 three-pointers while scoring 37 points for Portland. Clippers 118, Trailblazers 112. And that's all for the sports.
So that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like for you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcast on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.